Hi, students. Today, I'm going to share with you a little bit of information that will help us get prepared for this semester and in terms of your future career in graduate school. Now, we're going to talk about cleaning data. And before we get started in this quick lecture, I want to make sure that you stop the video at this point and make sure that you have Excel open on your computer. You open IBM, SPSS, any version will do. You want to have your data set saved to your desktop. Now, when we have an Excel file or a data file saved on OneDrive or Google Drive, it often will have some errors when we move that data file into SPSS. So make sure to just save it onto your desktop or on your C drive. Have your code book open. This is super important, especially when we begin class. Always have your data file and your code book open before we begin class, and also for this lecture series here. Go ahead and save those files into a folder. Maybe you title it as the class. That way you can utilize it in future semesters. So when all of these steps are ready, you can go ahead and hit play. All right, now let's go ahead and begin. In this class, I have shared with you an archive data set. When you first open that archive data set, what I'd like for you to do is double check a couple of things. Number one, what we want to do is scroll all the way down to the bottom of our data set and make sure here, if we have row 453, let's go ahead and make sure, let's just do a visual. Make sure we don't have any data. Oh, we do. Okay, so a few weeks ago in class, we were calculating means and standard deviations using Excel, which is super duper easy and super simple, especially if you're going to work at a low-income serving facility, okay? Excel is super easy, and almost everybody has Microsoft products on their computers. And so Excel is advantageous for that reason. Now, we've talked about that in the past, and I love Excel, but I also enjoy using SPSS, so we're going to talk about both Excel and SPSS today. If we move this Excel data set into SPSS, SPSS is going to read this as a participant who partially participated in our study. So what we need to do is go ahead and get rid of this artifact. So if we click on row 453, right click and clear contents. That way we are cleaning our data set to make sure it loads in SPSS properly and that we don't have any little byproducts. Now, we have talked about this in class, but I wanted to go over this one more time in this lecture just to make sure it doesn't help or doesn't hurt to hear information another time to make sure you know how to do it. So what are we going to talk about? The second part of cleaning our data set. We always want to make sure that we didn't have anybody that wasn't supposed to be in our study, okay? Now, who is not supposed to be in our study will depend on what kind of participant you're looking for. If you want people in the military, well, then maybe somebody snuck in who isn't in the military. You'd want to remove them before your data analysis. Let's say your study is all about a certain ethnicity. Well, you want to make sure and decide, do you want to include individuals who might have your main ethnicity of interest and then another? Or so those are things that are going to be driven by your knowledge of your area and the purpose of your research study. Now, for this data set, Our institutional review board application stated that everybody needs to be 18 years of age or older. When we post this study was posted at Oklahoma State University, Cameron University, and Southeastern Oklahoma State University. And we stated that everybody had to be 18 to participate. Now, when students are participating in research, they might lie or fib to us, okay? So we just want to double check our data. If somebody did lie and say that they were 18, but they are only 17, what we need to do is delete them from our data set. It would be unethical for us to continue. Okay, there's no punishment to these participants because this data set was already collected. But it just means that in future studies, we need to be more careful, making sure that nobody sneaks into our studies. And I think many of you who have participated in SONA systems have noticed that you keep getting the same question, how old are you? And we say, what year were you born? We're trying to catch people and make sure that they aren't sneaking into our study. We want to make sure everyone is 18 years of age, because at 18 and older, then they can participate in our study and give us consent to participate. If they're 17, we need their parents to give them consent. So what we need to do is go ahead and sort the age column and get rid of any 17-year-olds. How do we do that? Let's go ahead and click on our age column. We can click on DE, then go to sort. If you want to do smallest to largest or largest to smallest, it doesn't really matter. Let's just do largest to smallest. This screen, I cannot get the dialog screen to be any larger for you. So I'll read what it says. It says, sort warning. Microsoft Excel found data next to your selection. Since you have not selected this data, it will not be sorted. What do you want to do? The default is to expand the selection, and we want to do that because this person here in row 433, this is all of their data, and their age is 23. We want to make sure that their age stays with the rest of their data. Okay, so we're going to say sort, expand the selection. Ready? Okay, now this data set was collected to focus on emerging adulthood. So emerging adulthood is considered people 18 to 25 years of age. From 18 to 25 years of age is a very stressful time of life when you're trying to figure out who you are, maybe independent from your parents, and you begin adulting, paying your own bills, living in the dorms, maybe eating poorly, and maybe gaining the freshman 15. Hopefully none of you did that, but if mom's not there making you eat your vegetables and the cafeteria plan is full of carbs, it's easy to do. All right, well, let's look here. Now we have all these 25-year-olds that we said sort Z to A. So let's scroll down to the bottom. All right, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pesky 17-year-olds that snuck into our study. So what we want to do is we do not want to just delete these ages. We need to delete the entire row. Or I'm sorry, yes, where did I get this? Okay, so if we click on 447 over here on the number 447 and drag and hold, we can select all of our 17-year-olds, right click, clear our contents. Right click, clear our contents. All right, now we have 446 rows of people. So each of these rows would represent a person and their thoughts, attitudes, and beliefs based on this data set, except for we have row 1. In Excel, row 1 is actually our variable names. So row 1 is our variable names only in Excel. So when I ask you how many participants do you have, let's say you open up Excel your first answer would be 446, but actually we need to subtract out this first row. So Rn equals, what would it be? 445. We also want our N to be in italics and represents our sample size. All right, well, that will end my video here. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the space bar on that cell so it's not there showing up as an artifact. This is a little bit of cleaning. We always want to make sure that there's nothing extra in our data set before we move it into SPSS. Whatever our selection criteria was for the study, we need to make sure everybody fits in that parameter. Okay, whether it's sex, ethnicity, age. This data set also has one other variable of university. Maybe you only want OSU students. Then you would want to sort this column and focus just on that university. What's great about this data set that I have shared with you for this class is that in Excel, not SPSS, in Excel, you can add multiple tabs at the bottom and you can see the codebook. That'll be another video. So I will end here. What is super duper important? Make sure you have your Excel open. Make sure to clean it. Clean your data set before you get started. Make sure there aren't any artifacts that you've added along on your primary data sheet. And then make sure your selection criteria are met. Focus on those that you state you want to include in your hypothesis. Okay, so for what we did today is we removed 6 17-year-olds. Finally, let's go ahead and save this file to your data set and go ahead and I like to call it the ethical sample. And so we have 445 people. You could say data set 445 and then dot the date or ethical. Okay, so that way we can utilize it throughout the semester. Hope this was helpful. Bye-bye.